Hello, class. Okay, so this week we're starting Chapter 8, Nutrition. Will be our last chapter for the semester as far as chapters goes and discussion goes and stuff like that. As far as book work, we do have one discussion left with our RSS feeds, which I'm hoping you guys are liking and being able to follow. So did want to cover just briefly some topics of importance as we lead to the last chapter here in our book for the summer session. Okay, so Chapter 8, Nutrition. This is obviously a huge component of the class. As you can see, this is our only specific assignment with the course. So I did want to point a couple things out to you as we go through. Okay. Please understand the definition of calorie. Understanding what a calorie actually is extremely beneficial to you and can help you, especially if you're going through a diet stage. Okay. We'll talk about a couple things this chapter that's going to help you with those things. If you look at page 227 in your book, you'll notice there in the middle there's three dots. It says fats, proteins, and calories. You'll see fats equals 9 calories per gram. Carbohydrates and proteins each equal 4 calories per gram. That's how many calories it takes to burn 1 gram of each of those substances. Okay, so it takes 4 calories of carbohydrates to burn 1 gram of carbohydrates. 4 calories to burn 1 gram of protein, 9 calories to burn 1 gram. If you think of calories, you can kind of associate calories with energy, because that's pretty much what it gives you is energy. So understanding what a fat is, what a protein is, what a carbohydrate is, and how the body uses those things is extremely important. Okay, obviously fats are something that get a bad rap, but believe it or not, we actually need fats in our body. Okay, fats provide us with some vital components to our body. Number one, the most important thing is fat provides protection to our vital organs. Okay, so we have that layer of fat around us that keeps our vital organs safe. Number two, fat is also an insulator. Okay, it helps to keep us warm when we start to shiver and when we get cold and stuff like that. It helps to keep us warm. The third aspect of fat that's important is fat is an emergency energy store. I know for me, if we would ever go into a starvation state, I think I'd be okay. I have a lot of reserve, as I put it. But so when we look at fat in and of itself, we do have. I think fat gets a bad rap. We do need fat in our body. We need fat in our diet to help us function the way we were intended to. Okay. The important thing to remember, though, is as we're eating our carbohydrates, our proteins, and as our body is functioning, anything that our body doesn't burn, as far as carbohydrates and proteins, converts that to fat. Okay, so when we look at our daily caloric intake, most daily caloric intakes suggest you're between 2,000 and 2,500 calories a day. Now, that is all going to depend a lot on your lifestyle. If you are an athlete, if you might need more. When we were in high school and we were playing 2 or 3 sports at a time, we could probably eat whatever we want and not gain a pound. Okay. The second we stepped foot on a college campus, we were no longer as active as we were going to. Okay. The freshman 15 is there for a reason. Okay. So, that's why, we're examining those things. So when we look at our daily caloric intake, and we use that 2,000 to 2,500 as a gauge, it's just a guideline. If one day you eat 1,800, the next day you eat 2,200, not a big deal. Okay, your body's not going to go out of whack. Don't kill yourself understanding that you need to hit that caloric intake. But when we look at the human body, just our daily functioning in and of itself burns calories. Just our body being our body burns a certain amount of calories. So men, for us, our heart beatings, our minds working, our blinking, digestive happening, we burn 1,200 calories a day just being. just being people. Ladies, you burn around 1,000 calories a day just being people. So our bodies are unique in how we adjust to our nutritional intake. So if we our bodies kind of get into the point where it'll adjust to the food that we put into it. So if we're used to eating 2,000 calories a day, and let's say all of a sudden we drop down to 1,500 of calories a day. Now, why is that important? Why do I use that 500 meter, that 500 difference? Well, a pound of fat is approximately 3,500 calories. So if we find a way to expend 500 more calories a day than we are taking in, on average, you will lose approximately a pound a week. Okay, approximately. Okay, now here's the thing. We can't do it just through diet. We have to do it through exercise, and that's where the weight management part comes in. If we say, okay, normally we have a 2,000 calorie a day diet. Let's say I want to lose a pound. I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna drop my caloric intake to 1,500, but I'm not gonna change my activity level. I'm gonna remain doing what I do every day because that's what works for me. Okay, well, that's great. So you might start out by losing a couple pounds here and there. But eventually what's going to happen is your body's going to realize and say, yeah, it looks like you're only going to give me 1,500 calories on a daily basis. So I'm going to change how your body uses energy, and I'm only going to allow you to burn 1,500 calories a day. I'm not going to continue to let you burn 2,000 calories because I don't know when you're going to give me food again. Okay? Hence why starvation diets don't work, and yo-yo, if you've ever heard of yo-yo dieting. Okay, well, what happens is your body will adjust to the caloric intake that you give it. Okay, so what we have to figure out a way is how can we lose that weight? So we have to change, either change what we're eating, which helps, eating more nutrient dense food, less food that has empty calories in it, which you might see some empty calories on your food tracker. So we need to eat foods that are more dense, foods that give us more bang for our buck, okay, per se. All right, so those are the type of things that we need to focus on in order to help our nutrition. So let's say, okay, you want to lose weight. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come up with an exercise that burns 300 calories, and I'm going to decrease my caloric intake by 200, okay? Now, as your body is continuing to use that, you might need to adjust how much you're burning, okay? Or you can say, look, I like to eat, and I like to eat a lot. My wife is Greek. My family is German. We eat. It's what we do. It's how we are. We like to eat everywhere you go. If you've ever seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding, if you've ever seen that movie, there is not any part of that movie that is an exaggeration. That movie is 100% accurate. I lived it. I was Ian Miller. My wife was the Greek lady in that, and that's how it is. You go places, you eat. That's just how So you have to figure out a way. Okay, what am I gonna? I like to eat. So what I need to do is I need to come up with some exercises or something to do to burn those 500 calories or more. Okay, to lose that weight. All right. So for me, one of the hardest things to do was when I had blood pressure issues. And my doc said, Gary, you need to lose weight. Well, one of the things I did was I cut out iced tea, as much as I love my Rudder sweet tea, and I cut out Mountain Dew, and I replaced those with water. And since February, I've lost 27 pounds, which is probably a little bit more than I should have lost, but I replaced those calories with something else. I didn't deny myself anything. I still eat what I eat. But I was able to lose that weight just sheerly by cutting out sugary sodas and sugary drinks, which is kind of amazing. So if we look at what, our three basics, so we got protein, fats, and carbohydrates. And we're going to focus a little bit on what we need to look at as far as the 6 essential nutrients. So if we look at the 6 essential nutrients, we've got fats, proteins, carbohydrates, minerals, vitamins, and water. Water is our sixth vital sixth essential nutrient. Okay. When we figure out water, everyone says, well, drink 64 ounces of water a day or 8-ounce cups. Well, that's great, but we're not all built the same. We don't all function the same. So one of the formulas that I like to use, especially with my high school kids, because it gets them to do math a little bit, which I hate to do in high school. But what I do is I say, okay, this one I want you to know, just take your current weight, divide it in 2. Okay. So for me right now, I'm sitting at 220 pounds. Okay. So 220 pounds divided by 2 gives me 110. That's how many ounces of water I should be drinking on a daily basis for my intake to be what it needs to be. So I'm drinking 6 20-ounce bottles. Okay. I'm drinking whatever that may be, whatever size drink you would drink, 32 ounces, whatever. So when you're figuring out your water intake for yourself, that's a good guide to use. Okay. Obviously 110 is much more than 64 ounces of water. One of the nice things about water is you can't have too much of it. Okay. Our body's made a majority of water. And here's the thing, you don't necessarily have to drink that water. Okay. I know for me, I really like fruits. So watermelon this time of year is great. My son, if I allowed him to, he would sit down and eat an entire watermelon if I let him. So when we look at our water intake, excuse me, that intake does not necessarily have to come specifically from drinking bottles of water. That intake can come from the foods that we eat. Okay, so our fruits and our vegetables and stuff like that. So that's something important to remember also. So when we look at, if we're going to break down our 2,000 calories, just using that as a guide, okay, 55 to 65% of our intake should come from carbohydrates, okay? 12 to 15% of our diet should come from proteins, and less than 30% should come from fats. Now, remember what I said, we do need some fats in our diet. We can't completely cut them out. We do need them in there. Very important to understand. Okay? All right. So you'll actually see the choosemyplate.gov symbol on page 242. Okay. And remember, these USDA guidelines are very similar to BMI. We're going to try to put everyone in a little bubble, in a little box. Okay. And say, okay, if you are 5'10", you should weigh 165 pounds. Okay. I am 5'10". I haven't seen 165 pounds since 7th grade, and I don't intend on seeing them anytime soon. So what we need to do is we need to be able to adjust what we're doing. Okay. So, maybe, you need to be on a special diet for a condition, so maybe you can't eat a certain food. Maybe you're lactose intolerant. Maybe, there are some other things that you need to be concerned about with your personal well-being that you need to consider in your diet, that's okay. For those types of things, as long as you're under a doctor's supervision, you should be okay. Or a certified nutritionist or something like that, a dietitian. One of the big things you want to look at is on page 250 is understanding how to read a food label. The FDA and the government is requiring more and more information to be put on these food labels. So that's something that's important. Make sure that you understand exactly what you're looking at, what you're getting through these things. Okay. A lot of our processed foods are very high in sodium, okay, or salt content. So for us to have high blood pressure, that's something we need to consider. Okay. We don't want to be adding extra salt to our, as good as they are, our TV dinner. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind also. Okay, and that's really much it. I know I didn't really discuss a whole lot of the chapter, but those are the types of things I want you to do. Keep in mind, understanding what the 6 essential nutrients are and an example of each is very important. Knowing what the daily caloric intake recommendations are by the USDA is very important. Understanding what percentages of our food should come from. Now, you will find on the internet different percentages, okay? Different from what I've told you. Mine are just guidelines, okay? They're not set in stone. I'm not going to get into any philosophical conversation unless you want to regarding the amount of protein or carbohydrates or fats in your diet. If we want to have that conversation, I'm up for anything. So, but these are just some guidelines that I want you to use as we're going forward. Especially keep them in mind as you're writing your food analysis. Okay, your nutritional analysis. Keep this chapter open when you're going through those. And again, when you're doing your food journal, keep in mind, please, that I'm not grading you on what you eat. I'm not grading you. I'm not judging you. Trust me, I'm the last one to judge what people should be eating on a regular basis. However, I do want you to be able to have a good foundation, a good understanding of being able to analyze your nutrition and say, where am I lacking? I'm definitely lacking in these areas. I'm okay here, but I have way too much of it over here. Okay, so those are the types of things that we need to be looking to do. Okay, looking forward to a great week and some good discussions. Keep up the good work with the discussions. You're doing a great job on those, and really looking forward to reading your food journals, guys. All right, take care. Have a good week.